In this video, I'll walk you through how you can map a valid order block. Before you start mapping out your order block on the lower time frame, you need to understand the trend of the market. To understand the trend of the market, you have to go to the higher time frame first, because the higher time frame controls what happens on the lower time frame. You need to know the direction of the market first, right? You need to know the order flow of the market. Here is my daily time frame. I'll start from the daily time frame to understand where the market is headed, right? Before that, you can see that the market was making its way up. You can see a series of higher highs and higher lows, a break of structure to the upside, a retracement, another break of structure here to the upside. Price came down, took out this liquidity, tapped into this order block, then pushed to the upside, right? Now let's pay attention to what's happening around this zone. We saw another expansion to the upside because it's an uptrend, right? We saw another expansion to the upside. Price came all the way up and took out this liquidity here. After price traded up, took out liquidity, it started dropping to the downside. They're just going to pay attention to what is happening around here, because this is another trend entirely on the lower time frame. This is a trend on its own on the lower time frame. Remember, we are starting our analysis on the higher time frame, and this is the daily time frame. This daily time frame is just showing us a retracement, but this retracement on the lower time frame is a trend on its own. Do you get? So let's go down to the lower time frame. So this is 1 hour time frame. The trend was an uptrend, as you can see. It was giving us a series of higher highs and higher lows. Immediately price took out liquidity here. Price started dropping to the downside. This is where a shift in market structure happens. Price gave us a shift in market structure here to the downside. You can call it a change of character. We have this change of character to the downside. Have you seen? After this change of character, where is the origin? This is the origin and this is the order block, right? So we have this order block here. Price came back to this order block, respected this order block. Pay attention to what happened here. Price did not give us another break. Price just respected this order block, then started pushing back to the upside, giving us like kind of equal low here. After that, price came all the way up to this zone. Price came back up and took out liquidity here. Price left equal high here, came back and took out liquidity here. Have you seen? So after price took this liquidity here, it started dropping to the downside. This move here has given us another break of structure here, but we just need to pay attention to what's happening here first before we identify the next low. So where am I going to map out as my valid order block? This point is going to serve as my valid order block because price swept liquidity before it starts dropping, right? There is something you need to have at the back of your mind when you're mapping out a zone. Price needs to sweep liquidity before respecting a particular zone, right? Price needs to sweep liquidity before respecting a particular zone. You can see even before price got to that zone, it also engineered liquidity here. This was inducement. Price came all the way up, took out liquidity here, and also took out the equal high that price created. This one here, have you seen? Before it started dropping to the downside. This point is a valid order block for me. We also have another valid order block here, this one. Before price respected this order block, price engineered liquidity here. Price created an inducement here. Before you can spot a valid order block, the first thing you need to spot is an inducement or liquidity. If price leaves liquidity close to that order block will be valid because price needs to sweep liquidity before respecting that order block. If price doesn't sweep liquidity before an order block, that zone will be used as liquidity. If price doesn't sweep liquidity before tapping into your order block or your zone, that point will be used as liquidity, right? Now let me go down to 30 minutes and show you something. All right, so you can see here, even before price started dropping to the downside here, price also engineered liquidity here. Have you seen? Immediately price swept this liquidity. Immediately price swept this liquidity, it started dropping to the downside. Even before price pushed to the downside, price also engineered liquidity here. This was an inducement. Price swept this liquidity, tapped into this zone, then started dropping to the downside. I picked this trade. Let me show you. Okay, so this is it. You can see after this liquidity, this was the zone I mapped out. So I picked this trade here, but price traded up and took me out before it started dropping because my stop loss was too tight. If you're mapping out your zone, and if you're picking entry around your zone, you don't need to make your stop loss to be very tight because price may just pushed up a little and take you out before it starts going towards your intended direction. Do you get? So you can see here price just pushed up a little, took me out before it started dropping. I actually picked this trade again because I knew price was still going to push to the downside. I picked this trade, and this was where I collapsed my trade just around here. So before you map out a zone, before you map out your valid order block, you need to check if there is liquidity close by, right? If there is liquidity for price to sweep, price will respect that zone. Do you get? But if there is no liquidity that price will sweep, price will use that zone as a liquidity. Okay, so you can see immediately price swept this liquidity, it started dropping to the downside. We have this break here. So we have this break of structure to the downside. And where is my next valid order block? I would like to map this out first as my valid order block because this is the origin that caused this break of structure. I'll map this out as my valid order block. Okay, but before price gets to that zone, I need to see if there is liquidity that price will sweep. Now look at here, price engineered liquidity here in form of equal high. Have you seen? Price engineered liquidity here in form of equal high, took out this liquidity. Let me extend it out like so. Have you seen? So price engineered liquidity here in form of equal high, came back up, swept the liquidity, and where did price respect? Price respected this zone here. Price respected this zone. This one here. Did not pick this trade because I was expecting price to come all the way up to this zone, but price just swept this liquidity, respected this zone, then started dropping to the downside. So when you are mapping out your valid order block, you need to check if there is liquidity that price will sweep, if there is an inducement that price will sweep close to where you can spot an order block, then that order block will be valid, right? That order block will be valid. You can see immediately price swept this liquidity, just tapped into this order block and started dropping to the downside. You can see this massive push. This is how to map out a valid order block. First thing you need to look out for is liquidity. Price will always want to sweep liquidity. If there is no liquidity close to that zone, price will want to use that point as liquidity. So when you're mapping out your valid order block, also look out for liquidity that price will sweep. Look at here, we have this equal high here. We also have this equal high here. Immediately price came up and swept this liquidity, it started dropping to the downside. You can see another one here. This was liquidity, price pushed up, swept this liquidity, dropped, came back here, engineered liquidity here, came back and swept the liquidity, tapped into this one and dropped, right? This was another one, price engineered equal high liquidity, tapped into this other block and dropped. You can see price has been making its way down since then. Like, this move is crazy. So this is how to map out your valid order block. I hope this video was helpful. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing and like the video. Thanks for watching. See you in my next one.